The task force to inquire into forest resources management and logging activities in Kenya is currently conducting public hearings and receiving submissions of representations, memoranda and petitions on the ban on logging. This has been conducted in at least 6 different counties of Kisumu, Eldoret, Nyeri, Isiolo, Mombasa and Nairobi. Here in Nairobi, the event is taking place at the Bomas of Kenya. But let's start in Nyeri County at the IFAD Hall, where the task force is conducting its hearings. Let's link up with our reporter Martin Monene. A very good morning to you, Martin. Has the event started, and what exactly are some of the views that the public are giving to this task force?
A very good morning to you, Fred Indemoli from Nyeri County. And like you said, we expect the event to actually start. It has not started according to what was in the media. We expected the event to start at 8 a.m. But what I can say from this particular region is that members of the public are actually here. People are eager to speak. I must say that Nyeri is one of the counties that was greatly affected by the ban, and also previously we saw people, especially members of activists groups, actually come out and condemn logging in this particular region, saying that it is the reason the rivers were drying up, the rains weren't coming. But then again, after that, we saw loggers from this particular region coming out, and other stakeholders are saying that they are licensed and theirs is a legal business. And so in this particular place, I see quite a number of people who are actually here to just give their views to the panel, but they say they're actually disappointed that it has not yet started, because they came here at about 8 a.m. but the event is yet to start. Let me just speak briefly to 2 of the people who are here to give their views, and we just get a feel of what they say. So kindly just introduce yourself briefly and tell us what is your take in the whole forest management and logging business.
My name is Martin Duati. I have invested a lot in the industry. I have also been growing seedlings for afforestation, and what I can say is that this moratorium has greatly affected the industry and the county at large. We have sacked all our workers, we have dismissed them. Most of them are youth and women, and I'm sure there are so many people who are affected because they will not be able to meet their obligation in terms of loans. So this moratorium has affected us as a county. It's also good that to note that in Nyeri County, the forest cover is above 10%. So even if I was to deliver 500 seedlings in Nyeri County, there is no way we can grow them. And therefore, this moratorium, having been effected generally across the country, is unfair. It should have been separated. The areas that require afforestation, the areas that require afforestation need to be separated. The areas that are devastated need to be separated from the areas that are not destroyed. Otherwise, it is affecting us. It has affected everybody in the county, and the effect is going to be long-term.
Okay, all right, maybe briefly, there are some activists from this particular county, Nyeri, who have raised issues saying that even Nyeri itself was actually affected by logging activities. What is your take on that briefly?
The whole idea was because there was shortage of water in the rivers. And the shortage of water was not occasioned by logging, because logging was done according to the Kenya Forest Service regulation and planning. But because of excess abstraction of water from the rivers, and because of the season of the year, there was that excessive shortage. Right? If the reason was the cutting of trees, there wouldn't be rainfall. But now the rivers are full. So the main reason why there was a problem was because there was excessive abstraction of water, and therefore the government must consider doing dams upstream and along the river, so that you can have regular flow of water along the river and throughout the year. But as long as the abstraction is done directly from the river, as long as natural catchment areas are not protected, seasons like this one in January will always be affected. We also have shortage of water in the river. So there should be, the solution is not by letting the mature exotic trees to die at the road. The solution is in conserving water that is flowing in the, from the rain, conserve them in the dams, and conserve the natural water catchment areas like swamps.
All right. Let me just talk to another person, Fred, because I see quite a number of people here who are interested in speaking about this whole issue. But that man says that cutting down of trees has not resulted to lack of water. Let me just talk to another gentleman. Kindly introduce yourself very briefly. Tell us who you are and what your take is very briefly.
Thank you very much. My name is Charles Mogo from Chinga Tea Factory. I'll be generally representing KTD factories. That's why we are here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what is your take about the management of forests and the logging business?
Okay, what we are saying is that we have seen the government coming in strongly to ban on deforestation in government forest, private and public land. And as KTDA, why we are here is that we have bought our own land. We have invested in our own land, where we are planting our own seedlings and harvesting when the trees are mature. So that's why we are here, because basically we are planting in our own land and we require to harvest those trees so that we can process tea. So when the ban now comes to even the private land that people have bought and invested so that they can harvest and do their own business, it is affecting us.
All right.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much. Fred, kindly allow me to speak to one of the activists I've seen who's just come. He's one of the most vocal people when it comes to the ban. He was for the ban. Let us just hear briefly what he has to say. Very briefly, sir. Tell us who you are and what your take is on logging and the ban. Briefly.
So my name is Mushiri Mwangi from Green Future Foundation. And our main concern was that the future of our country was at risk. And we raised the issues and gave out the facts about what was happening. And we expected, we have a sitting, we think the way forward about our forest and our natural resources. But instead of that, we had some issues. Kila soko iko na mwenda wazimu, I don't know, a number of issues. We never came to a stand where we can have a talk and think the way forward about our country. But what we may say up to this point is that we are very positive with what is happening. These are the sawmillers. We know we have legal sawmillers. It was not a fight. None.
What's the way forward?
The way forward is the report is out. If we get qualified sawmillers, they continue with their business legally without anyone interfering with their processes. And in the near future, we want that report to be implemented to the latter. That one, we will not allow it to have a shortcut. And we want our people to understand one thing. This is our country. Let us own our country, think about it, and think the next generation that will come to this country. And beyond that, I expect we sit down as a government and as a people, we think about the water shortage. The same resource that we are using when we are at a population of 10 million, it is the same resource we are using at a population of 46 million. So we must come together and reason the way we can save our waters, and that one will come from the government and the people.
All right. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. One of the conservationists here saying that they feel that the ban was actually well implemented, but a section of one private individual saying that the ban should not have been in private land, and another one saying that that the reason we are lacking water in the country is not because trees are being cut down. He says that the whole water system needs to be checked so that the person actually, or the people who actually blamed for the water shortage are not the loggers. That is how things are in this county. Back to you in studio, Fred Indimule.
Thank you, Martin. Martin Monene outside the IFAD Hall in Nyeri County. Nyeri is one of the 6 counties where the task force to inquire into forest resource management and logging activities in Kenya is conducting public hearings. Now, incidentally, it is the International Day of Forests. And in Nakuru County, we are made to understand that members of the county assembly are planting trees today. They're engaging in a tree planting exercise. We do have our reporter there from Nakuru, Evans Asiba. Very good morning to you, Evans. I can see a number of people standing behind you. Are those the MCS from Nakuru ready for the tree planting exercise?
A very good morning to you, Fred Indimule, coming to you live from Nakuru County. Where, as I have rightly put it, the people you have seen behind me, and Nakuru County Assembly members who are here with me are ready to do the exercise of planting trees on this International Forest Day, which was adopted by International United General Assembly in the year 2012. And here in Nakuru, we are not just doing here at County Assembly, but from here we are going to join the other county officials just next to the State House for the same exercise, which will include the entire county. And here with me is just the MCAs led by the Nakuru County Speaker, who is going to tell us maybe the importance of this day, as we all understand that here in Kenya there is a ban of logging just to create awareness to the members of the public on the importance of this day, on the importance of having trees across the country and forest entire to increase the forest cover in here in Kenya. And maybe just to talk to the Nakuru County Assembly Speaker, Engineer Joel Kairu, who is going to tell us much about the same function here in Nakuru. Mheshimiwa, pengine just tell us about this day. What are you planning to do as a County Assembly in Nakuru?
Thank you very much. What we are planning to do, currently I'm joined by the whole Committee on Environment of the whole House of Nakuru, and we have an exercise this morning here at the County Assembly. We want to plant trees. As you're aware, the President and the Deputy President has rallied a call to us that we need to join hands and plant over 30 million trees here in Nakuru County. So I'm here with my whole team from the environment, led by the chairman, Banagadhareki, and we want to plant trees. I want to say that if we compare a country that has been rated as the best, practice country, that is Japan. Japan is a smaller country than Kenya, with a bigger population than Kenya, but they have over 70% of forest cover in that country. Kenya, we have a bigger landmass, so we can achieve even more. And what I would also want to say, even the people living in the cities, onto your rooftop, your house, just do some green stuff. You can plant trees even on top of your house. But let me not take the whole time. I want to give it to my chairman for him to explain more on what we want to do, and then maybe I can answer back.
Okay, maybe just if you are aware of the forest cover of Nakuru County, how big is it, and what are your plans maybe to increase, do you have any budget at the County Assembly to ask the same, because you are telling us you have the committee in charge of the environment, was their mandate, and what they have in their docket?
One thing I know is that there is Mau recovery that is now going on. Of course, it's under the National the Forest Service. But we as a county, we have a responsibility from our own wards on encouraging and planting trees, especially in schools and in our wards. So I want to give this opportunity to my chairman, who can explain more about the forest cover and the budget that is already there, if you allow me, please.
Okay, going to Chairman Indimuli, let him just brief us on their mandate at the County Assembly. Chairman, maybe just tell us what is your mandate at the County Assembly.
Thank you. Today we join the rest of the country in celebrating the International Forest Day, and in the County Assembly and the county at large there is a budget set for that, and we are launching today, as we launch there from the Assembly Lawns and proceed to State House. Then on 4th of April we shall launch the whole program for every ward. Every ward shall be entitled to plant over 270,000 seedlings. Although it shall cover the whole county, but every ward in the 55 wards. So we have a budget of over 60 million, though it's being catered by the executive, but the County Assembly and the executive shall join hands with one inch to make sure that seeds are sourced from the wards and seeds are planted and tethered, so that at least we can cater for them, and especially in the public utilities, to increase our forest cover. Mau is here with us. It's part of Nakuru County. Our percentage compared to other areas is diminishing. It was 7%, it came to 6%. It is now estimated to be at around 4%. And there is a policy from the government that every 10% of every land ownership, at least a certain portion, either a third or 10% should be a woodlot. So I'd encourage all residents of Nakuru, whether you're in town or in the rural areas, you know how to plant in the urban area. Just sponsor someone in the rural areas to plant a seedling. So let's own this process right from that go, not only planting, but tendering, so that these seeds can thrive and survive.
And maybe just a question, but not really for the forest, but it also related one or another. As a county government, you also understand that some of the areas are affected by floods here in Nakuru. What are you doing maybe? Do you have anything in plan to ensure that the water that's going at wastage to harvest and help the county in future?
Thank you very much. First, I want to thank the executive. This time round, you've not had flooding in this town because they were well prepared. They opened up the drains, and therefore we've not had serious cases of flooding. What we are saying is that as the same committee also deals with water, they are doing a lot in terms of budgeting for water pans and dams, so that in future we conserve water, especially in the rural areas, to avoid that water being wasted. You've seen circles of when we have a lot of rain, and then later on we also don't have water within a very short time, and our people suffer. So the county government, especially the assembly, and through this committee, is also doing a lot in terms of having provisions for dams and water pans.
And with that budget of 60 million, as you have the chairman rightly put it, do you think that's enough for the 55 wards?
That's for tree planting.
Is that enough for the tree planting for the entire 55 wards?
Of course, for a start, we can say we are going somewhere, because initially it used not to be there. So we are going somewhere. Probably next year we might add the budgetary allocation. Again, you know, we also have to balance, because there are many needs in this country, in this county. So this time round, you saw the other time we had prioritized also pyrethrum. We also gave them a small an amount of money for planting of pyrethrum. And now for tree planting also something has been given. So we'll continue balancing, because the resources are also scarce, you know, as you know. Yes.
And we're also calling for other partners, and especially in the county of Nakuru. We have GDC, we have KenGen, we have KFS, all partners to come on board, either private or public partners. Let's own the process, because it will make this country to be healthier for all of us. So partnership is a major idea.
As you have heard, Fred, from Nakuru County, you are celebrating this day in a very different way. For the first time, Nakuru County Assembly has set aside 60 million for the entire county. That's 55 wards here in Nakuru who are going to benefit from that kitty. And also from the chairman of the environment dockets have just urged all the private sectors to partner with the county government to ensure that we increase the forest cover of Nakuru. As we understand, Nakuru is one of the most affected areas where we understand all the sawmills are from here in Nakuru, and maybe just the entire process, that's how it is. We keep on updating you as we get more information on this International Day of Forest cover in from Nakuru, we don't have much. My name is Evans Asiba. Back to you, Indimuli.
Thank you, Evans. Evans Asiba, reporter in Nakuru, reporting on that tree planting exercise by MCAs and still on matters to do with forests. Let's link up with our reporter in Eldoret, Uasin Gishu County. Uasin Gishu is one of the 6 counties where the task force is conducting public hearings on management of forests and logging activities. From Eldoret town, a very good morning to you, John. What exactly are the activities surrounding the International Day of Forests and the public hearings by that task force from where you are?
Indeed, in Timuli, very good morning. And in Uasin Gishu today, as you've said, we are also waiting just to hear from the task force to receive those full report on what really requires for those people, especially living or forest dwellers, those as Ngwer, Okiek, Ndorois, Masai, and also maybe the question that will be there is in the Muli, will they be allowed to continue staying in the forest, yes or no? And also something that has come up in the Muli is that Elgeyo Marakwet, being the second largest one in terms of forest cover, being the second one after Nyeri in the country, is that county is also maybe will be facing a danger if the logging will really continue in that county. And so far, the report have it that most of people who are really involving themselves in cutting down trees, those officers entitled to or given mandate to ensure that our forests are safe. You find that KW or Kenya Forest Service officers are the one having the one milling or the one cutting down trees. They have saw milling machines there also, something that is really worrying in the Muli. And in Eldoret also today, on the same issue of trees, is that Riply, one of the main companies that depend on trees, we have heard that it's also at maybe some of the employees in that company could be going home. The company is saying that they don't have raw materials to sustain these employees in the company so that they can keep on producing what they have been producing due to this crackdown or due to a ban on logging of trees in our forests. Also, life has gone up in the Muli, definitely, especially charcoal and also this timber. Everything has now shot. The price is really going up quickly and very fast. With me, I have an officer from Kenya Forest Work, and we would like to talk to him briefly in the Muli too, if you can just face the camera here to tell us maybe what are you doing here today?
Okay, basically today we are talking about issues with the indigenous communities, and we are focusing on developing a proposal that will be going towards sustainably managing the indigenous forests of Embobut Forest. And within Embobut Forest we have a community called Sengwers. And this is an indigenous community whose lives have been dependent on the forest resources, and this includes livelihoods that they withdraw, water issues with firewood and all that.
And maybe on the same issue of Sengwer, yes. Between who is eating Embobut Forest? Is it Sengwer or Kenya Forest Service people are the one eating these indigenous trees?
Okay, we must admit lifestyles have changed, so it means the indigenous communities, some of them are also engaged in these illegal activities, because if they were not really engaged, then they could have really protected this forest. And the forest officers who are also in charge of manning this forest, some of them are also been corrupt and also been involved in illegal activities, including charcoal burning and timber harvesting. Yes.
Maybe, do you support or advocate for these indigenous people to keep on staying in the forest?
We must admit that for us to change things and ensure that we have sustainable forests, we must address the historical injustices. Because the issue of indigenous communities, it has existed with us since time. The issue is, are we able to address the historical injustices that ensure that the communities have their land that they are entitled to, and if we are to evict them, where are they going, and do we have allocated land where they'll be going to? Otherwise, they'll still continue to stay in their historical land. Otherwise, if we want to evict them, we must ensure we have alternative land, because you cannot evict somebody and you expect them to stay outside the forest. Yeah.
And maybe my last question to you, this ban on logging, do you think it has affected Kenyan economy in a way?
It has affected the Kenyan economy in the sense that forestry sector contributes 3.5% to the GDP. First of all, we must look at issues with energy. The prices of charcoal will have to definitely go up, because we don't have sources of charcoal at the moment. The prices of timber will have to go up, and that means we'll be affecting the four pillars of the Kenyan government, and this is the housing sector, because we'll have to import timber at high prices, and also the issues with food insecurity. Food insecurity, when they ban activities like pellies, it means communities will not be able to grow crops as they used to do in those plantation sections. So that affects our economy.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. In the Muli, those are some of the issues that are happening here, and we are really focusing and checking on what is really going to happen. And also in the Muli, this thing of forest is a hot potato issue, where you find that every year Kenya is losing about 12,000 acres of land just for forest. And if this continue like this in the Muli, you can be definitely sure that if Kenya continue with this trend, then in shortest time or in the near future, we will not be having this forest cover at all in this country. So we are waiting to see whether these forest dwellers, especially in this region, and as you know, in the Muli also European Union withdrew to support especially water towers project in this country, because they alleged that especially Sengwer people in Elgeyo Marakwet were being mishandled by the government. So we are waiting to see today if they will come to amicable solution, so that the funding can still come back and ensure that people living in that region can continue with their lives in the forest, or they will be moving out. In the Muli.
Thank you, John. John Wanyama there from Eldoret Town, Uasin Gishu County, giving us a brief on what to expect today as we mark the International Day of Forests. And the Task Force on Forest Management as well as logging activities is conducting public hearings in at least 6 counties, including Nairobi, Nyeri and Uasin Gishu. And that's the forum they're waiting for to kick off there in a short while.